Good afternoon, students. Last class, we learnt about emotions in general. We learnt what an emotion is. We also learnt about the parts or components of emotion and the types, the kinds of emotions, and how it is classified. We also looked at how emotions can be expressed, interpreted. We learnt about the physiological expressions of emotion. We also learnt about how it's expressed through facial expressions, through body language, and we looked at how emotions can affect our health. And we looked at psychosomatic conditions, which are basically because of emotions, which are either not expressed in a healthy way, can lead to psychosomatic conditions. Today we're going to look at theories of emotions. As we learned in the last class, we realized that emotion is not simple, it's complex, and it doesn't have just a psychological component, it also has a physiological component and experience. And so it is also an experience that happens as a result of our interactions with our environment or the outside world. And we also learned that there are positive and negative emotions, and emotions can be related to a person, an object, an event, or related to social emotions happening in a community or in a group, and self-appraisal emotions. Now, some emotions are innate and it's there from the time we are born. Those are called primary emotions: love, care, joy, surprise, anger, and fear. And we also learned in the last class that primary emotions are not learnt, but secondary emotions are those which we learn through our experience. And these are pride, rage, shame, neglect, sympathy, and horror. These are emotions which are called as secondary, and they are learnt. Now, with our basic awareness about what emotions are, we're going to look at some common theories of emotion in psychology. And first theory we're going to talk about is a theory that was proposed by two people, William James and Carl Lange. And James Lange theory of emotion is proposed by these two people. According to this theory, we do experience different events, and what these two people, according to their theory, what they say is that we experience different events, and then our nervous system develops physical reactions to these events. And examples of these reactions could include an increased heartbeat, trembling, upset stomach. These physical reactions in turn create emotional reactions such as anger, fear, and sadness. For example, we can imagine ourselves sitting in a dark room. Suddenly, when you hear a breathing sound behind you, your heart rate increases suddenly and you start trembling. So you interpret these physical responses as you're frightened and you are experiencing fear. So this is what James Lange's theory of emotion says. And so basically it's one of the oldest theories of emotions. And they were two individuals and they combined their two theories, and today it's known as James Lange theory of emotion. And both of them believed that emotions are results of physiological reactions to any external event. And James's research gave more attention to emotion as a consequence of a physiological change, while Lange's emphasized emotion as the demonstration of a physiological change. And so, what is in detail? This theory states that emotion is equivalent to the range of physiological arousal caused by external events. The two scientists suggested that for someone to feel emotion, he or she must first experience bodily responses such as increased respiration, increased heart rate, and sweaty hands. Once this physiological response is recognized, then the person can say that he or she feels the emotion. This is the opposite of the typical common sense way of thinking about the cause and effect relationship between experience of emotion and its manifestation. James and Lange emphasized that the autonomic activity and actions that are induced by emotional stimuli generate the feeling of emotion and not the other way around. For example, you're walking in a dark alley in the middle of the night, suddenly you hear some strange noises and your heart rate increases. According to James Lange theory of emotion, you will conclude that you're scared because your heart is beating really fast. When the cortex of our brain receives stimuli that can induce emotions, or our autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system trigger our visceral organs and skeletal muscles respectively. These systems will then stimulate our brain, which will interpret the response as an experience of emotion. Like another example for James Lange theory of emotion is when someone sees an angry bull, the common sense says that the perception of the angry bull, you feel fear, and then it will be followed by increased heartbeat or any other physiological reaction. But James Lange's view would be perception of the angry bull first leads to an increased heartbeat or other physiological reactions, and then you experience the feeling of fear. So this is the difference from the common sense view. The perception of emotion arousing stimuli is followed by specific physiological reactions such as release of adrenaline and flight reaction. The brain interprets the specific physiological changes as the emotion, I'm scared because my heart is racing and I'm running away. So just like for any other theory, there was criticism of this theory also. Study done by Marinon in 1924 found that physiological arousal is not enough to cause emotion. Only around 2/3 of participants who were injected with adrenaline reported physical symptoms. In addition, there were studies that indicate that not all emotions, except the strongest and basic ones, have been found to occur with specific physiological changes. So Walter Kanan, one of the most important critics of James Lange theory, believed that for this theory to adequately describe emotion, different physiological responses for every emotion must be defined. He added that since emotion is the physiological response in this theory, one way to differentiate the emotions from each other is to determine the different reactions for each emotion. Some of the reasons highlighted by Kanan as to why he rejects James Lange theory of emotion is: 1. Physiological experience of emotion does not appear to differ from each other to the extent that it would be essential to discriminate one emotion from another emotion based only on a bodily reaction. So it gives more emphasis on physiological experience and not the emotion as such. Physiological aspect of emotion shadows our subjective experience of emotion at times, because we earlier learnt that it's the first thing that happens in emotion is the subjective feelings, that what we are aware of our own belief, or what we believe we are having, what we believe that is happening within us, whether it's fear or happiness. But physiological aspect of emotion shadows our subjective experience. Physiological responses that are made artificially do not result in emotions. That's another criticism. So there are also people who supported this theory. And 1953, Axe noticed that different physiological changes are related to different emotions. For example, fear seems to be associated with the physiological effects of adrenaline, while anger appears to be associated with the effects of noradrenaline. Another study done by Schwartz et al. 81 also found distinct physiological reactions for anger, fear, happiness, and sadness. In 1990s, advances in technology allowed psychologists to study bodily reactions, shedding more light on the James Lange theory of emotion and addressing some of the criticisms presented by Cannon. Using modern tools, researchers were able to demonstrate that some emotions involve differing patterns of autonomic nervous system arousal, other bodily reactions. In one study done by Levinson in 1990, participants were asked to make facial expressions for the emotions of fear, anger, happiness, disgust, and sadness, and surprise, and to hold these expressions for 10 seconds. Researchers then measured the participants' physiological reactions and found that there were slight but noticeable differences in heart rate, skin temperature, and other physiological reactions for the different emotions, which kind of supports the James Lange theory. So that was one experiment, Levinson's, which kind of supported their theory. All emotions caused changes in heart rate and skin temperature, but they were able to find that the degree of change is actually the measure that distinguished emotions from each other. Although this finding did not support the whole theory, it did give some merit to the James Lange theory of emotion. The next important theory in emotion is this theory, Cannon-Bard theory of emotion, was developed by a physiologist by name Walter Cannon and Philip Bard. According to these two physiologists, we feel the emotions and experience the physiological reactions such as sweating, trembling, and muscle tension simultaneously. Suppose you are in a dark room all by yourself and suddenly you hear breathing sound nearby. According to Cannon-Bard theory, your heart rate increases and you begin to tremble while you are experiencing these physical reactions. You also experience the emotion of fear. Whereas James Lange theory says first you experience physiological reactions and then only you experience the emotion of fear in the same experiment. Here they feel that both physiological reactions and experiencing an emotion happens simultaneously. The background of the Cannon-Bard theory of emotion is that in 1900s, Cannon, a physiologist at Harvard University, proposed a number of criticisms against James Lange theory of emotion. That was the dominant theory of emotion at that time. So Cannon emphasized the role of brain in producing physiological responses and feelings through his experiments, which then gave substantial support to his own theory of emotion. In his experiments, Cannon discovered that it was still possible to experience emotion even if the brain was excised from the signals of bodily responses. He added that it was not reliable to depend only on bodily responses to know the type of emotion a person is experiencing, as different emotions may be formed by the same bodily responses. For instance, a person with a racing heart could either mean that the person is angry or excited. Cannon's doctoral student Philip Bard agreed with this idea and continued developing this theory, which came to be called as Cannon-Bard theory. So I hope you understand what Cannon-Bard theory and how it is different from James Lange's theory. So Cannon-Bard theory says that the experience of emotion does not merely rely on bodily inputs and how the body responds to stimuli. Both of these occur at the same time autonomously. People recognize the emotions and simultaneously undergo physiological responses such as perspiration, trembling, and tensing of muscles. I hope you're clear about this. If you can see the model of Cannon-Bard theory is that perception of emotion arousing stimulus. It can be an event or so. Can you see how perception of emotion arousing stimulus, that is an event or whatever is arousing the emotion, we call it stimulus. It can be an event, and according to this theory, you're aware or conscious of the emotion, as well as there are physiological changes. Both are happening at the same time. Whereas in James Lange's theory, they said first this will happen, physiological changes, then you experience emotion, you become conscious of emotion. That's the difference. So that's the Cannon-Bard theory, and Walter Cannon supported his argument that individuals are able to feel emotions even before the body responds to the emotion arousing stimulus by surgically removing the sympathetic nervous system of a cat. Even though the somatic signals of stimulation were removed, he found that the cat still displayed anger and fear and pleasure. In addition, he also said that the experience of emotions involves two separate processes in the nervous system. Autonomic nervous system being responsible for the arousal, and the cortex as being responsible for the production of the subjective sensation of emotion. This suggests that autonomic stimulation and mental construal of emotions happen simultaneously. This is not the same as what James Lange theory claims, in which the autonomic sensation results in the subjective state. Cannon added that bodily responses happen too slowly to be acknowledged by the brain before the experience of emotion happens. So his student Bard advanced Cannon's research further. He conducted some studies to identify the parts of the brain that may be accountable for the generation of emotion. He found that it is the cerebral cortex that had been associated with the emotional activities based on Phineas Gage's study, which tends to prevent emotion and aggression. When Bard detached the cortex of a cat, it was shown that the decorticate cat exhibited sham rage, called such because during those times when James Lange theory was the dominant theory on emotion, it was stated that emotions could never be felt without connections to the brain, and became highly emotional and aggressive. When the cat was provoked, it demonstrated erect hair, growling, and baring of teeth. Specifically, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, and the cortex of the brain play essential roles in this model. The model starts with the emotion arousing stimulus triggering receptors. Activation of the receptors will then send impulses to the cortex. Once the signals arrive in the cortex, these will then be associated with the conditioned progressions which regulate the flow of the succeeding response. This response activates thalamic processes and will be prepared to discharge impulsively and strongly. Certain combinations of discharged neurons determine emotions that the individual will express. Okay, that's about Cannon-Bard, and when it was stated in the theory that within the thalamus and area around it, neurons accountable for emotional expression are placed near the relay in the sensory path from the periphery to the cortex. You will understand this as you're learning anatomy. These neurons, you're learning physiology. These neurons, when released in certain amounts, innervate viscera and muscles and activate afferent tracts by direct connection or irradiation to the cortex. Thalamic processes also send signals to the hypothalamus to trigger a general flight or fight bodily response. So thalamus sends impulses to cortex, and perception of emotion arousing stimulus, and you see how there is experience of emotion as well as there is general physiological changes. This is what Cannon-Bard theory tries to establish. Now coming to supporting Cannon-Bard theory of emotion, there are studies that have concluded that physiological changes do not play an important role in the experience of emotions. Studies found that animals displayed normal emotional reactions even when their spinal cord had been removed, as in the case of dogs in the study done by Sherrington in 1900, and even when the nervous system of cats were severed, as in the case of Cannon's study in 1927. Danner's research in 1921 also showed the same results, in which he studied an individual with spinal cord damage but who still demonstrated a range of emotions. And there were also criticisms of the Cannon-Bard theory of emotion. Cannon-Bard assumed that bodily responses have no influence on emotion, but other studies showed otherwise. In addition, Cannon-Bard used their studies on animal and case studies as evidence for their theory, which can be unreliable, as it can be doubtful whether findings generated by these can be generalized to human behavior. Moreover, the theory overestimated the function of the thalamus in emotional processes, as there are other parts of the brain that are involved in emotions. Okay, so I think we should stop here, because the main two theories that are necessary for you would be these two theories, but there is also Shastor-Singer theory, where emotion, it was developed by Stanley Shastor and Jerome Singer, and according to this, the element of reasoning plays an important role in how we experience emotion. It says that when an event causes physiological arousal, we try to find a reason for this arousal. Then we experience it and call it or label the emotion. Suppose you're sitting in the same dark room all by yourself, and all of a sudden you hear a breathing sound. Your heart rate increases and you begin to tremble. When you notice these physical reactions, you realize that they are coming from the fact that you're all alone in a dark room. You think that you may be in danger and you feel the emotion of fear. So here it is reasoning which is given more focus, where you reason out your physiological reactions and then you label the emotion as fear or whatever. And this is the single factor. There's a two-factor theory which says, this theory says that the role of physiological arousal as a primary factor in emotions. However, it also suggests that physical arousal alone cannot be responsible for all the emotional responses. Therefore, it takes into account the cognitive aspect of the emotional reaction. Sorry, it's not single factor, it's two-factor theory. Somewhere I made a mention that single factor. So suppose you're sitting in a dark room and you hear breathing. As I said, you start recognizing that your heartbeat has increased, and then you understand that it's because of the fear, and then you feel frightened. So the whole process of emotion starts with an external stimulus, that is the breathing sound in a dark room, followed by a physiological arousal, which is the increased heartbeat and trembling. And then the cognitive labels come into action when we associate the physiological arousals to fear, which is immediately followed by the conscious experience of the emotion of fear. So we saw James Lange theory, where he says it's event that leads to first physiological arousal, then you interpret, then you experience emotion. And we see Cannon-Bard theory, which says event is there, an emotional event, emotion arousing event or stimuli, and both physiological arousal and emotions happen simultaneously and not one following the other as in the previous theory. And Shasta-Singer theory, the first one says event, first arousal happens, then reasoning happens, then the emotion is labeled. But in the two-factor theory, it's the event, arousal and cognitive reasoning and emotion, cognitive labels, then the emotion is experienced. So this is about the various theories on emotion, and this is what we don't show that. What we are saying is that emotion is looked at from different theories. Some saying that the physiological reactions that happens following an event, a stimulus event, it what causes the experience of emotion, and some are saying no, it's simultaneous, and some are saying no, after the physiological reaction there is a cognitive reasoning that's happening and then the emotion is experienced. Another person says that it's physiological reactions and the cognitive labeling is happening, then the experience of emotion is happening. So now we have looked at what emotions are, and we have also looked at the different theories in emotion. The main two theories are the James Lange theory and Cannon-Bard theory. Okay, that's for today.